All right, I'm gonna shoot it to you straight. This is why you aren't getting the leads that you'd like to be getting within your service business. Now, this is actually a resource that I created for one of the clients that works with us here at Educo. We're a growth operations company. We help service-based businesses essentially scale. And this is a resource that I created for one of the clients to help them understand why they weren't getting the leads that they'd like to be getting, why they weren't able to charge premium prices, why they weren't able to be content with the type of leads coming in. And so I've made this entire resource and I actually want to share it with you. Now, if you would like us to come in and do any of this that we talk about in the video here, actually for you within your service business, then there's a link down below. All right, so I'm pretty much just going to read off this. We're going to go through it now. If you're watching this, you're probably in one of two spots, okay? Either your lead volume has dropped off and you can't figure out why, or you're trying to grow and the leads just aren't coming through at the volume that you need them to be coming in, okay? Both of these situations are gonna feel the same from the inside: frustrating, expensive, and confusing. The goal of this document is to give you a systematic way to think about why this is happening so that, more importantly, you can stop guessing and you can start diagnosing, okay? And this is gonna apply regardless of how you're getting leads right now, okay? If you're doing paid ads or organic content or SEO or word of mouth or referrals, cold outreach or partnerships, it doesn't matter. The channels are different, but the underlying causes are still going to be generally the same. Some sections in this document are more relevant to paid traffic, and I'll note that where it applies, but the core issues like the messaging, the positioning, the offer, the market saturation, the funnel friction, these are all universal and they affect every business regardless of how traffic arrives at the door. So let's just go through what is going to be inside this video. Well, number one, the first mistake is jumping to solutions before diagnosing, okay? So this is your lack of visibility. So you jump to solutions without properly diagnosing what the issue actually is. Now, this is common when you just lack visibility, when you don't have quantified numbers that are showing you that this problem exists because of this reason. And because of that, you just start shooting out for solutions without actually knowing what you're doing. Now, messaging, the number one reason that lead volume and quality dropped. Messaging is the way that you communicate your offer to the world. Positioning, offer, and commoditization. You look like everybody else, and this is an extrapolation from messaging. If you look like everybody else, you then by extension commoditize yourself. Now, the actual audience alignment. You might just be attracting the wrong people for the type of thing that you are offering, okay? The next one is gonna be market saturation. You have just simply exhausted your in-market buyers. And so by extension of that, you need to go up market because you've exhausted your current TAM, okay, or your total available market. The next section is message fatigue. Your content and creatives are just simply burned out. You have hit all of the people with the same type of content or messaging. Therefore, they have already seen it. They've been there, they've been done that. They need something new, okay? Now, this could be distribution problems. That's the next section. Funnel friction, extraction ceiling, and then the actual diagnosis process. So the point is 1 through 10, we're gonna be going through everything that you need to not only identify what's going on, but how to actually fix it, okay? So really quickly, just want you to know this is going to be a pretty long video because we're gonna be going super into depth on absolutely fucking everything that you need to understand, and then by extension of that, the things that you need to do in order to fix this issue, okay? And the primary issue here is you're not getting the type of leads that you want to be getting, whether that's volume or quantity. I am gonna stick to this document instead of steer off because there's a lot of information in here. The first mistake is just simply jumping to solutions before actually diagnosing, okay? When leads dry up, most people do the same thing. They panic, they assume they know what the problem is and start changing things. They swap out content, they change targeting, they launch new campaigns. They tweak the landing page, they do all of this simultaneously, which means even if something does work, they won't know what caused it. And if nothing works, they just burn time and money without actually learning anything, okay? The real problem isn't that the leads stopped coming in, the real problem is that you didn't know why they stopped, and without that, every action you take is just simply a guess, okay? Before you change a single thing, you need to run what I call a bottleneck analysis, and I've made another video on this before called top-down funnel analysis. This means looking at every single metric in your funnel from the top down. If you're running paid traffic, that's CPMs, link click-through rate, cost per click, landing page conversion rate, cost per lead, cost per qualified call, show rate, close rate, average order value. If you're running organic or SEO, that's impressions, reach, engagement rate, profile visits, click-throughs to your site, page conversion rate, inbound inquiry volume, show rate, close rate. If you're running word of mouth or referrals, that's referral volume, inbound call volume, show rate, close rate. So whatever channel you're in, you're looking for the metric that's contracted, the one that's dragging everything else down with it. That specific contraction point actually is your bottleneck, and that's where you put all of your attention, okay? Now, there is a principle. There is always one major contraction in an active funnel that has traffic moving through it. Your job is to just simply find it, not to guess at it, because once you find that contraction point, you assess what's actually causing it, and then you fix that specific thing. You don't need to fix 5 things, you need to just fix that one thing. Now, the next component is messaging. So the number one reason lead volume and quality has dropped specifically. Here's something that surprises most people when they hear it. When lead volume or quality drops, it's almost never an audience problem. It's almost always a messaging problem. The mistake people make is that they take the same messaging that historically worked, the leads dry up, and they assume that they exhausted the audience. So they go and find a new audience, but the audience was never the problem, simply the messaging was. What you need to understand is markets evolved. What your audience was thinking and responding to 6 months ago is not what they're thinking and responding to today. The market becomes more sophisticated over time. They've seen more content, they've heard more claims, and they've been pitched by more competitors. And if your messaging hasn't evolved with them, it stops resonating. The same words that used to pull qualified leads now pull nothing. Or worse, they just simply pull the wrong people. And what you need to understand is this applies to every single channel, okay? Your ad copy, your organic content hooks, your SEO, meta descriptions, etc. This applies to all channels. Now, there is a difference. There is minority hooks and there are majority hooks. One of the most common messaging problems that I personally see with the service-based businesses that we work with is what I call a minority hook. A minority hook is an angle that appeals to a small fraction of your targetable audience. It's very niche specific, it's narrow, and it has an inherent scale ceiling. You can only push so much volume through a minority hook before it stops delivering. If you're trying to grow past that and leads aren't coming through, it's because your hooks are just simply too narrow. The majority hook, on the other hand, appeals to the broadest shared problem or desired outcome across your entire ICP, which is your ideal client profile. It's not about dumbing down your message, it's about finding the thing that most of your ideal customers are actually thinking about and speaking to that directly. Majority hooks scale, but minority hooks don't. So just simply ask yourself, are my current messaging angles speaking to a specific narrow scenario that only a fraction of my market cares about? Or are they speaking to a broad problem that most of my ideal customers are actively thinking about? Now, let's go into the next section, which is claim-based messaging and financial qualification. The revenue outcome you publicly target in your marketing is going to determine the financial qualification level of the leads that you attract. This is not a theory. This is actually observable across every business that I've ever looked at. If your content says 0 to 10K a month, you're going to attract people who earn at or below half that number. If your content says scale to 100K a month, you're going to attract people who are already in that range or close to it. So if you're not getting the leads that you want, the right leads, the financially qualified leads, just simply look at the claims in your messaging. Are you talking to the income level that you actually want, or are you accidentally talking to a lower tier because you think broader is safer? What you need to understand is broader is not safer. Broader just means more unqualified leads that are going to waste your sales team's time. Now, the next one is market sophistication. At later stages of market sophistication, you can't just make claims anymore. Your audience has legitimately heard all of it. They've been pitched by 5 competitors this week. So now what you need to understand is what makes you stand out is not a bigger promise. As a matter of fact, we're going to then talk about your unique mechanism. But with that being said, it's simply articulating the process to result. You have to actually show them how the result happens, not just that it happens. If your market is saturated and your messaging is still just making claims without explaining the mechanism, you'll see that lead volume drop because people have stopped simply believing in the claims. Okay, the key takeaway from this whole thing so far is before you change your audience, your campaign structure, or your budget, just simply look at your messaging. Is it speaking to where your market is today, not where they were 6 months ago? Is it a majority hook or a minority hook? Is the income claim calibrated to attract qualified buyers or unqualified tire kickers? Okay, now going into number 3, which is positioning, offer, and commoditization, which is just simply you looking like everybody else. Now going on to point number 3, which is your positioning, offer, and commoditization. If you look like everybody else, there's going to be a problem with that. Okay, here's a hard truth that most people never confront. You can have phenomenal messaging, fresh content, and a well-structured funnel. Yet, you're still not going to get enough leads because your offer is self-commoditized. You look like every other person selling the exact same thing. When a prospect sees your content, your ad, or your website, they don't think that this is different. They think this is another one of those. And so what do? They just keep scrolling. So commoditization is what happens when your offer is indistinguishable from the competition in the eyes of the buyer. Same promise, same format, same deliverables, same price range, and then same vibe. The prospect has no reason to choose you over the 5 other options that they saw this week. So they choose from none of them, or they choose the cheapest one, which means you are in a competition to zero with all of your competitors. This comes straight from Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising, and it's the framework that I use to actually diagnose offer and positioning problems. Every market moves through stages of sophistication over time. With that being said, stage number 1, nobody's been pitched yet. You can just make a claim and it works. I can help you with X. That's it. No mechanism, no proof, no differentiation, just the claim. So imagine being the first person with a car when everybody else is still on horses. You can say, I got a car, who wants one? And at the end of the day, that would be enough. But then there's stage 2. This is when competitors actually start to enter. Now, multiple people are making the same claim. The rule at stage 2 is simple. Outspend everybody else making the same claim, because whoever spends the most is going to win. There's still no real differentiation needed, just budget superiority. Now, stage 3, this is when the market actually starts to get skeptical. They've heard the claim from 5 different companies. They don't believe in it anymore just because somebody said it. This is where you need to introduce what Schwartz would call a unique mechanism. A unique mechanism is just simply a differentiator. It's a specific way that you produce the result that nobody else can claim. It's not a bigger promise, it's just a different process. Think about ice cream. Regular ice cream is a commodity. Nitrogen ice cream, on the other hand, is a unique mechanism. Rolled ice cream is a completely new unique mechanism. It's all the same product, but different process, and then completely different positioning. The mechanism makes it feel non-commoditized, even though the end result is just still ice cream. Then the market goes into stage 4, and this is when it's full saturation. This is when the market has been pitched so many times by so many people making the same claims with the same mechanisms that they're just simply burnt out. They've likely done deals and gotten burned, which has caused trust fatigue. And at this stage, you need an even deeper level of differentiation. And honestly, some niches are just simply so far gone that I'd argue that there are more than 4 stages now. The internet has accelerated market sophistication faster than Schwartz has ever even imagined. So just simply ask yourself, what stage of sophistication is your market in right now? And if you're still just making claims and expecting them to work, but your market is at stage 3 or 4, that's why your leads have dried up. The claim stopped being believable a long time ago. Now I'm just going to give you a bone, because I know a lot of my audience is dog training and boarding businesses. If you are still positioning yourself as a dog training company, you are in a very good position, because that market is not saturated, because none of the competitors have actually leveled up their positioning and their messaging. So you're in a very good niche, okay? Now, going into the actual unique mechanism, this is the antidote to the commoditization problem. If your market is at stage 3 or beyond, you just simply need a unique mechanism. This is the specific articulated way that you produce results that nobody else can actually replicate. It's not saying that we have a better service or that we care more, okay? Because those aren't unique mechanisms, those are platitudes. A mechanism is simply a process. It's the how. So here's how you identify if you have a real unique mechanism or not. Can you simply articulate it in one sentence? Does it explain how the results happen, not just that it happens? Could a competitor not copy it without fundamentally changing their business? If you can't answer yes to all 3, then you don't have a unique mechanism, you have a commodity with a logo on it. And when you don't have a unique mechanism, your content all sounds the same as your competitor's content. The prospect sees your post and 3 competitor posts in the same scroll. They all say the same thing. The prospect has no reason to engage with yours over anybody else's, and so your engagement drops. Your inbound inquiries decline, and you think that it's an algorithm problem or a reach problem, when in reality it's not. It's just simply a positioning problem rooted in the absence of unique mechanism. Now, going into the offer stack, are you selling components or are you selling features? The offer itself, the actual stack of what they get when they buy, is another major lever. Most people build offer stacks like feature lists. They throw in everything that they can think of and hope the sheer volume of stuff makes it feel valuable. That's actually backwards. A proper offer stack is built around the buyer's narrative. You start by understanding who your ICP is, what problems that they're standing in right now, what circumstances they're dealing with, and what kind of outcomes they actually want. Only after you successfully articulate their problems, circumstances, and desired outcomes do they care about the bridge, which is what you sell. Every component in your offer stack should map directly to a specific problem, circumstance, or desired outcome that your ICP has. If a component in your offer stack doesn't map to something that the buyer actually cares about, then it's dead weight. It doesn't add perceived value, it adds confusion. And confused prospects never convert. they leave, which then by extension of that, your lead volume drops. Not because the traffic isn't there, but because the offer doesn't feel like it was actually built for them specifically. So then we move into premium positioning versus commodity positioning. So now we're going to move into premium positioning versus commodity positioning. Positioning is a frame through which the prospect sees your entire offer before they ever read a word of copy. It's a brand level perception. Are you the Rolls Royce of your category, or are you the Honda? Both are valid positions, but they attract completely different buyers and command completely different prices. The mistake that most people have or make is when they want premium buyers, but they are positioning themselves as a commodity. Their branding is generic, their content looks like everybody else, their website feels like a template, their messaging is broad and safe. Then they wonder why they're attracting price-sensitive tire kickers instead of qualified buyers who actually have the money to spend. Now keep in mind, I know this is a long video and I know there's a lot of information in here. If you don't want to deal with all of this information yourself and you want us to just come in and do it for you, link down in the description. Okay, let's get back into the video. Premium positioning is communicated through every visual and verbal cue. The quality of your content, the specificity of your language, the confidence of your claims, the sophistication of your design, the exclusivity of your framing. When all of these signals actually align, the prospect perceives you as a premium before they even read your offer. When they're misaligned, you get commodity positioning regardless of how good your actual offer is. So here's the thing about positioning that most people miss. Identical products can command dramatically different prices and attract completely different demographics. Here's the thing about positioning that most people actually miss, okay? Identical products can command dramatically different prices and attract completely different demographics, purely just through branding, creative quality, and messaging. The product doesn't change, the positioning does. And positioning is a choice that you make, not just something that happens to you and your offer. Now, here's the principle. If your offer is commoditized, then there's no amount of traffic, content volume, or optimization that will actually fix your lead problem. You'll keep working harder for fewer, lower quality leads because the market has no reason to choose you. The fix is actually to develop a unique mechanism, rebuild your offer stack around the buyer's narrative, and align your positioning to attract the tier of buyers that you actually want. This is the foundational work, and then everything else is downstream of it. So just simply ask yourself, if a prospect saw your content and then 3 competitor pieces in the same scroll, would they see anything meaningful in differentiation? Could they articulate why yours is different? If not, then you are a commodity. And that's a bigger problem than any tactic can actually solve. Now, the next thing we're gonna move into is audience alignment. You're just simply attracting the wrong people. Sometimes the problem isn't volume. You're getting the leads, but they're the wrong leads. They're unqualified, they have no money, they're in the wrong stage of business, maybe the wrong mindset. Your sales team is wasting hours on calls that we're never gonna close to begin with. And from your perspective, it feels like you don't have enough leads because the qualified ones are so rare. This is an audience alignment problem, and it shows up differently depending on your channel. In paid traffic, it's a pixel conditioning problem. In organic content, it's a content attracts audience problem. In SEO, it's a keyword intent problem. In word of mouth, it's a refer education problem. The mechanism differs, but the result is still the same. You're pulling in people who are never going to buy to begin with. If you're running paid traffic, then we're gonna talk about pixel conditioning. So 2 things control who you actually target on modern ad platforms: messaging and pixel conditioning. That is about it. The pixel learns from your data that you feed it, then goes and tries to find more people like the data. If you give it garbage, it gives you more garbage. So here's how this goes wrong. You launch a campaign, leads come in, some are qualified, but most are not. When they all hit the pixel because they all completed the opt-in or the form, the pixel now thinks that those unqualified leads are exactly what you want. So it goes and finds more of them. And then suddenly your lead volume is fine, but your lead quality is terrible. So you have 2 levers that you can pull. The first is messaging. So if you make your ads and landing page more direct about who the offer is for and who it's not for, you're naturally gonna filter out unqualified people before they ever even hit the pixel. The second lever is conditional logic on your actual form. You add a qualifying question. If the prospect answers it correctly, they get forwarded to the confirmation page that then fires the pixel. If they answer incorrectly, they still get to register, but they go to a completely different page that does not fire the pixel. The pixel only learns from qualified people, and over time, it's going to start finding more of them. Now, if you're running organic content, on organic, there is no pixel, but the same principle applies. The content that you post determines who follows you, who engages, and who eventually reaches out to you. If your content speaks to beginners, you attract beginners. If your content speaks to people with no money, you attract people with no money. If your content is broad and generic, you attract a broad and generic audience that's nearly impossible to convert. The fix is simple, okay? Make your content more specific about who it's for. Talk to the income level, the stage of business, and the specific problems of the person you actually want to work with. You're going to lose followers who don't fit, but that's the entire point. The ones who stay are the ones who are actually going to buy. Now, if you're running SEO, then what you got to understand is SEO has its own version of this. You might be ranking for keywords that bring in traffic, but not buyers. Somebody is searching, well, what is your service in its research mode? Somebody searching your service near me, or best your service for specific problem is in buying mode. If your SEO strategy is pulling in research mode traffic, you have high traffic but low lead quality. The fix is to audit your keyword strategy and shift towards more intent-bearing search terms that actually attract people who are ready to transact. Now, if you're running word of mouth, even word of mouth has an audience alignment problem. If the people referring you don't understand exactly who you're looking for, then they're going to send you whoever they think might need your service. That includes unqualified people. The fix is to educate your referrers. Tell them exactly what a qualified lead looks like for you. Give them specific criteria. The better they understand your ICP, the better quality referrals that they're going to send. Okay, now the principle is simple. Every channel has its own unique mechanism that determines who you attract. In paid, it's the pixel. In organic, it's the content itself. In SEO, it's the keywords. In referrals, it's their understanding. The universal fix is just the same. Be more specific about who you want, and every channel will start delivering more of those people and fewer of the wrong ones. Now, we're moving into point number 5, which is market saturation. You have exhausted your in-market buyers. Every market has a finite number of in-market buyers at any given time. These are people who are actively looking to buy what you're selling right now. They're the most easy to convert, they have the shortest sales cycles, and they're most profitable to acquire. But there's only so many of them. When you first start pushing your offer out, whether it's through ads, content, SEO, or outreach, you're pulling from this in-market pool. Leads come in fast, are qualified, they convert at a high rate, and it feels easy. Then over time, as you push harder and harder, you start exhausting that pool. You're reaching deeper into the audience to find people who will actually convert, and the people you find are not in market. They're what I call needs-convinced buyers. They're curious, they're interested in the category, but they're not ready to buy yet. They need more touch points, more nurturing, and more proof. And this is the pattern that I've seen across dozens of businesses. They hit a point where you're working harder but getting the same or fewer amount of leads. The leads that do come in are lower quality, and the natural instinct is to blame the channel or the content or the algorithm. But the real issue is you pulled in all of your in-market buyers, and now you're reaching the needs convinced layer. So here's the stadium framework. Think of your total addressable market, or your TAM, like a stadium. The first tier, call it 10% of the stadium, is in market. They're ready to buy now. The next tier is maybe 20% and they need to be convinced. They're interested but need persuasion. The next tier is the mass market. They're aware of the category but haven't considered buying. And the last tier, roughly 30%, will never buy no matter what you do. When you are not getting enough leads, it might be because you've already extracted everybody from the in-market tier and your messaging is still optimized for in-market buyers. But the people you're reaching now need convinced. Okay, they need different messaging. They need to be educated before they're sold to. If you keep running in-market messaging at a needs-convinced audience, then you are going to see lead volume drop because the messaging just simply doesn't resonate with where they're actually at. So just simply ask yourself, how long have you been pushing the same offer to the same audience through the same channel? Have you been gradually increasing your output over months? If so, you may have pulled through your in-market buyers, and now you're reaching a colder, less ready audience that requires different messaging and a different approach. Now, moving into number 6, message fatigue. Okay, message fatigue is one of the most common, most misdiagnosed causes of lead volume drops. The symptoms are very predictable though. Results start declining, engagement drops, and this happens gradually over a sustained period. The content that was working great 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago for organic is now underperforming, and you can't figure out why because nothing else has changed. Well, what's happening is that the audience that was going to respond to your message has already responded. You've shown your content to everybody who is probable to convert on it, and now you're showing it to people who are less than probable. Frequency goes up, engagement goes down, and the whole thing becomes less effective for fewer results. So here's how you can actually diagnose message fatigue. Look at frequency if you're running paid. If your frequency is climbing above 2 and your cost per result is climbing alongside of it, then you're likely fatigued. Look at engagement trends if you're running organic. If your average views, likes, and comments per post are declining over time, your audience is fatigued. Look at timeline. Did the decline start gradually after a period of sustained output? Fatigue doesn't happen overnight, it's a slow burn. The fix is not to tweak the existing content. The fix is to replace it with fresh content. But here's the most important part. The new content needs to have a genuinely different angle, not the same message with a different background. It needs to be the same message times new format equals new pocket. But if the message itself is fatigued, you need a new message entirely. This is where having a surplus of content becomes critical. If it takes you 2 or 3 weeks to turn around new content because your process is slow, then you're going to bleed momentum during every fatigue cycle. Now, the principle, always have excess content sitting in surplus. The businesses that grow smoothly are the ones that can replace fatigued content within hours, not weeks. Message fatigue is not a crisis if you're prepared for it. It's a crisis if you're not. Now, moving into number 7, distribution problems. Okay, sometimes the problem isn't your messaging, your audience, or your offer. Sometimes it's how you structured your distribution. And this is one of the most overlooked causes of lead volume problems because people assume that the platform or the algorithm will just figure it out, but it won't. The structure you choose directly affects how your content and your spend gets distributed. So if you're running paid traffic, let me give you an example. If you've got 20 ads stuffed into a single ad set, the platform is going to funnel spend to maybe 1 or 3 of those and just starve the rest. That's not testing, that's just hoping. The algorithm picks favorites based on early performance signals, and once it starts favoring a few ads, the rest never get enough spend to actually prove themselves. So you might think that you're testing 20 creatives, but you're really only testing 3. If you want every creative to actually get distribution so that you can identify winners and losers, you need 1 ad per ad set with 3-second video view exclusions applied per ad set. This forces the platform to distribute spend across every creative. This is what I call the Thunderdome structure. Every creative fights for its life on its own. Winners get scaled, losers get cut, and you always know exactly what's working. The opposite problem is just having too many campaigns. If you've got 8 campaigns running simultaneously because you kept launching new ones every time performance dipped, then you're fragmenting your data. The algorithm needs concentrated data to optimize. When you spread your spend across too many campaigns, none of them get enough conversion events to exit the learning phase. So just simply consolidate, kill what isn't working, and move all your spend towards what is actually working. Now, if you're running organic, so content distribution, on organic, the equivalent problem is spreading yourself too thin across too many platforms, too many content formats, or too many topics. If you're posting on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, and a blog, but you're only putting out 1 piece per platform per week, you're not building momentum anywhere. The algorithm on each platform needs consistency and volume to start pushing your content to new audiences. The fix is simple, and it's the same as paid. Just simply consolidate. Pick 1 or 2 platforms, go deep, post with high frequency on those platforms until you build real distribution, then simply expand. 1 platform with daily content will almost always outperform 6 platforms with weekly content. Now, if you're running SEO, on SEO, distribution problems look like poor site architecture, thin content pages competing with each other for the same keywords or content strategy that's too scattered across topics. If Google can't understand what your site is about because you're pushing on 20 unrelated topics, and it's not going to rank you for any of them. The fix is topic authority. Pick your core topic cluster, build out comprehensive content around it, and let Google understand that you're the authority on that specific thing. Now, if you're running word of mouth, on referrals now, the distribution problem is having too few referrers or relying on 1 or 2 relationships that could dry up. If 80% of your referrals come from 1 person or 1 partnership, then you're 1 conversation away from a lead drought. The fix is to diversify your referral network. Build relationships with multiple referrers. Educate all of them on your ICP, and don't let any single source represent more than 30% of your inbound. Ask yourself, how is your distribution structured? Are you consolidated and focused, or scattered and fragmented? Are you giving enough volume to any single channel for it to actually build momentum? And if you can't answer these questions immediately, then your structure problem is contributing to your lead problem. Now, moving into point number 8, funnel friction. You might have the perfect messaging, a well-aligned audience, fresh content, and a clean distribution structure, and still not getting enough leads if your landing page or conversion path is actually broken. The page is where intent converts to actual action. If the page doesn't convert, then nothing upstream actually matters. The benchmark that I use for, call it a call funnel landing page, is 3 to 5% conversion rate. If your page is converting below that, then you're leaving leads on the table, not because your traffic isn't there, but because the page is actually killing conversion. So here are the most common page problems. Messaging incongruency between the traffic source and the actual page. If your ad, your post, or your search results promises one thing and then the page talks about something else, then people bounce. The traffic source and the page need to feel like the same conversations, not 2 different ones. Too much friction too early. If you're asking people to fill out a 15-question application before they've ever even spoken to somebody, then obviously you're going to lose them. So start with the least friction possible, get them on the phone, qualify them in conversation, then have them complete whatever you need. Nobody wants to restart an application that they didn't finish the first time. weak or missing video. If you're running a VSL and the engagement rate is low, meaning people aren't watching past the first few seconds, then your hook isn't working. The video just simply isn't pulling them in. A VSL with a 7% engagement rate is a hook problem, not a traffic problem. Slow page load speed. If your page takes more than 3 seconds to load, then you're losing people before they ever even see your offer. This is a technical issue, but it has a direct impact on lead volume. Now, the whole principle here is always start with the least amount of friction possible. Then as time goes on, you can slowly increase the friction where it's necessary. Every step that you add to your funnel is a point where people drop off. The question is whether the drop off is worth the qualification that you gain, which it's usually not. Now, going into point number 9, an extraction ceiling. This one is subtle and it catches almost everybody who grows successfully, okay? You find a channel that works, you start pushing harder, leads keep coming, results hold, so you push harder. And then at some point you push harder and leads don't increase, or they increase but quality drops, or profitability declines. At this point, you've hit an extraction ceiling. So what's happening is you're trying to extract more people per day from your market than are available to extract. Every market has what I call an extraction rate, okay? It's a number of people per day who are actually probable to convert on your offer, given your current messaging and content. If you try to exceed that extraction rate, then you reach into lower quality pockets of the audience. These are people who are colder, less qualified, less ready to buy. So you work harder, you get more leads technically, but they're worse leads and your profitability actually drops. So here's how you can actually break through that extraction ceiling. You don't break through an extraction ceiling by pushing harder on the same channel with the same content. You break through it by adding new funnels, new hooks, new content formats, or new channels alongside your existing profitable channel. This is what I call a horizontal scale. Instead of pushing one channel harder, you add a second channel, then a third. Each channel has its own ceiling, but together they multiply your total lead flow without degrading quality. The other option is to accept the ceiling and focus on optimizing downstream metrics instead. If you can't get more leads, get more out of your leads that you actually have. Improve show rates, improve close rates, improve your AOV or your average order value. Sometimes the answer to I need more leads is actually I need to convert more of the leads that I already have. So just simply ask yourself, when you push harder on your primary channel, what specifically happens? Does engagement drop? Does lead quality decline? Does cost per acquisition increase? Does inbound volume plateau? The specific way that your results degrade when you push harder tells you exactly what kind of ceiling that you have hit, giving you the answer of what you need to do in order to fix it. Now, the diagnostics process. Now that we've gone through all 9 possible causes, the question is which one is actually affecting you, and here's a process that I use to figure it out. Step 1, pull your funnel metrics. Get every single number relevant to your channel. If paid, CPMs, link click-through rate, cost per click, landing page conversion rate, cost per lead, cost per qualified call, show rate, close rate, AOV. If it's organic, reach, impressions, engagement rate, profile visits, click-throughs, page conversion rate, inbound inquiry volume, show rate, close rate. If SEO, impressions, click-through rate, organic traffic, page conversion rate, inbound volume, show rate, close rate. If referrals, referral count, inbound call volume, show rate, close rate, whatever channel that you're in, just simply get the full picture. If you don't have all of these, then that's your first problem. Like I said in the beginning of the video, visibility. You can't diagnose what you can't see. Then step 2 is to compare to historical baselines. Look at what these metrics were 30 days ago, 60 days ago, 90 days ago. You're looking for the metric that simply changed, the one that was fine before and is now contracted. That right there is your bottleneck. Everything downstream of that metric is suffering because of it, especially if it's at the top of the funnel. Step 3, identify the contraction point. Once you have found the contracted metric, work backwards to understand what caused it. If CPM spiked on paid, it could be an audience saturation or creative fatigue. If engagement dropped on organic, it's a content or hook problem. If page conversion dropped, it's a page or messaging congruency problem. If cost per call increased but upstream metrics are stable, it's an audience alignment or lead quality problem. If inbound volume plateaued, it could be an extraction ceiling. Each metric points to a specific cause. Step number 4, just simply fix one thing at a time. Once you've identified the cause, fix that one thing, not 5 things, one, and then just simply wait. Give it enough time to see if the fix worked. If you change your content, your targeting, your page, and your strategy all at once, you're never going to know what actually moved the needle. Patience here is not optional. It's a difference between learning and guessing. Then step number 5, if it's messaging, just simply update everything. If your diagnosis points to a messaging problem, and it often will, don't just update one channel. Update the ads, the organic content, the SEO copy, The landing page, the pre-call email sequences, the breakout videos, the confirmation page, the sales scripts, the referral talking points, everything. The market has moved and your messaging needs to move with it across every touch point. Updating just the ads while leaving the rest stale is like changing your shirt but keeping the same dirty pants. The bottom line here is not getting enough leads is never a single problem. It's always one of 9 specific things, and the only way to know which one it is to run the diagnostic process. And if you want us to run the diagnostic process for you and identify what the real constraint is, link down below. So stop guessing, start measuring, find the contraction, fix the one thing, and then move on to the next. With that being said, I hope this was valuable. I will see you in the next video.